So you should ask yourselves with every decision you make, is this good for the company? Am I helping achieve our franchise goals?
Excuse me, Mr. Dungeon Master, sir. I just have a question about that. What if what I'm doing is not good for the company?
Holy crap! You are so stupid! If it doesn't benefit the franchise, then you don't do it!
That's right. Why don't you use your head like a normal person? Hey, that's not very nice. I thought we said there was no such thing as a stupid question.
Well, he did, but that was before you set a new standard for stupidity!
That's right. Sometimes I wonder why we even have you on the team.
Indeed. What would you say you do here?
Well, look, I already told you. I split NPC skulls so you don't have to. I have people skills. I'm good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the heck is wrong with you people?
Welcome to the DM Lair. I'm Luke Hart, and I've been a Dungeon Master since high school. On this channel, I give practical Dungeon Master advice that you can implement at your game table. So I recently picked up the Acquisitions Incorporated book after my buddy John was talking my ear off at work about how awesome it was and how many Dungeon Master problems it solves. So I figure we should probably talk about it. First, what is an Acquisitions Incorporated style of game? Imagine that your adventuring group is a local franchise of a larger adventuring group corporation. In exchange for furthering the Acquisitions Incorporated branding and corporate goals, your adventuring group franchise receives several benefits from home office, such as headquarters, magic items, and expanded character abilities. The Acquisitions Incorporated style of game embraces corporate culture in a sort of ironic way and turns it into a way of playing the game. In fact, my Wonder Panda campaign has dabbled in corporate culture, though not as deeply, and we've all loved it. I mean, where do you think Gary the Intern came from? Now, this video is not going to be a review of the book, strictly speaking. We will be talking about a lot of stuff from the book, so you'll probably get a good idea of what it offers, whether you might like it or not, and whether or not it's worth buying. However, what I'll be focusing on is why a Dungeon Master should consider running an Acquisitions Incorporated style of game. You see, not only does this game style introduce some really cool elements into D&D, but there are some classic reoccurring problems that Dungeon Masters have been struggling with since the beginning of Dungeon Mastery back in 1374. And I think that Acquisitions Incorporated style of game can help ease some of those problems. However, first, a quick word from the Barbarian.
Hi, hello there. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my buddy Victor Zlatkus because he painted this super cool mini of me. And it even has my super complicated face painting pattern on it. This is really cool. Thanks a lot, Victor. You're really cool too. And you know what? If I ever meet you in a dungeon, I promise not to hit you with my axe. Well, at least not too hard.
Anyway, on to why you should consider running an Acquisitions Incorporated style of game. First, before we dig into reasons, it's important to explain that one pervasive mechanic in an Acquisitions Incorporated style of game is that the players are advancing their franchise in ranks at levels 5, 11, and 17 by spreading the Acquisitions Incorporated corporate brand and doing some special missions from home office. I feel like we need to somehow make a shorter way of saying Acquisitions Incorporated, otherwise I'm going to be like stuttering over that big huge word for this whole video. Let's just call it Ac Inc. Now, advancing in tiers improves many of the franchise features and character abilities and magic items that we're talking about. As a Dungeon Master, this is great because it gives players a common goal and objective that they can work toward, thus giving them a reason to stick together and work together as a team. It's also good for the players because it provides excitement and a sense of accomplishment for them as their franchise grows. Okay, let's talk about the crap ton of additional player options that an Ac Inc. game will give your players. See, that little Ac Inc. thing works a whole lot better than saying the whole big word. And believe me, I'm pretty sure that these are things your players will absolutely love. Number 1, franchise headquarters. Your players get a headquarters, basically a stronghold or home base at first level, and as they gain franchise ranks, you can make improvements to it, such as adding weapon features, arcane features, and defensive features. Being able to have your own stronghold or headquarters is just awesome for players. It gives them a home base, a place to store all their loot, and is just plain cool. And as a dungeon master, there's also a lot of cool stuff you can do with PC headquarters, such as have the PCs need to defend their headquarters. For instance, thieves could break in and need to be tracked down. Just don't go overboard, because otherwise you'll come across as a sort of jerkwad who's just trying to break the player's cool little thing. The mechanics in the Acq Inc. book make incorporating a headquarters fairly easy. That is, it's not rules heavy. There are basic guidelines to get you started, and then the DM could always add to it if he wants. Number 2, company positions. Next, each player gets to pick a company position. This is basically the role they play in the franchise, and each role comes with cool perks that unlock as the franchise gains ranks. Wow, there's a lot of awesome stuff here. So, you have roles such as cartographer, decisionist, documancer, hordes person, loremonger, and secretarian. And perks include things like additional proficiencies, magic items that grow in power as the franchise gain ranks, and unique role abilities. Okay, do we really need to talk about how amazing this is for players? I feel like additional player options are always really popular, and what player wouldn't get a kick out of a cool new character ability and a special magic item? Now, there are some important things a dungeon master should be aware of, though. First, it will increase the magic level of your campaign, so you'll probably need to compensate by increasing the challenge of encounters and other situations. Be aware too that one of the magic items, Cartographer's Tale of Safe Travel, is stupid broken, basically robbing you of the ability to have random encounters. Now, random encounters are something I love, so when I read how the magic item worked, I was like, what the heck? Anyway, I tweaked it so that it's usable just once per week, and that pretty much fixes it for me. The rest of the abilities and magic items looked fair and balanced though, so I think it was really just that one that was messed up. The rest are pretty solid. Number 3, hirelings. The next really cool thing that Acq Inc. adds to your campaign is different types of hirelings the players have access to, namely a major domo, sub-employees, and interns. Major domo, minor domo, I don't know, somebody correct me down in the comments. We're gonna go with minor domo though, because yeah. Now, the majordomo basically manages their headquarters and hirelings, which are referred to as sub-employees and interns. Sub-employees are unskilled hirelings that work in their headquarters, and interns are skilled hirelings, think fighters, clerics, and wizards, that can actually accompany your players on adventures. Now, your players will also have the ability to set their hirelings to work on tasks for them too. I think this is something most players will enjoy, bossing around their subordinates, right? Number 4. New backgrounds, class tweaks, spells, and a race. The Acq Inc. book also includes a few new backgrounds for your players and lots of suggestions for slight tweaks that can be made to the existing classes to make them fit in with the Acq Inc. style of gameplay. Oh, and there's a new race, the Verdun, a handful of new spells, and some factions and rivals the DM could make use of. Number 5, more downtime options. The next thing the Acq Inc. will do for your game is give expanded options for downtime. These are the cool things your players can do in between kicking down doors and slaughtering or sweet-talking monsters. In fact, an Acq Inc. style of game tends to emphasize downtime activities more than the standard style of D&D, I feel. So if that's something that you and your players are into, you're probably going to love these new options. The downtime activities all have to do with expanding and aiding your franchise, so they are reinforcing that corporate feel of the game, which I think is really awesome. Number 6, a Premade Adventure. Okay, so all the cool stuff I just talked about is only 78 pages of the book. The rest of the thing is basically an adventure for levels 1 through 6. To be fair, I didn't read the adventure, but I'm pretty sure I know why it was included. A 78-page rulebook wasn't enough to justify a $50 retail price, so they needed a little something to pad it out to over 200 pages. Now, I'm sure the adventure is cool and gives a good example of what an Acq Inc. game would look like, but yeah. All you really need is the first 78 pages of the book to run an Acq Inc. campaign. I wish I could have just bought that for $20. Number 7, Dungeon Master benefits. Now, before I jump into the benefits that an Acq Inc. game provides for the Dungeon Master, and there are quite a few of them that I'm really excited about, I just want to let you know that I have a second YouTube channel, the DM Lair Streams, where I upload my Sword Coast Guard game sessions, that's the campaign with Lord Paxton in it, and some of the replays from my Twitch live streams. So if that's something you're interested in, there's a link down below. Anyway, that was... That was good. Anyway, I talked a lot about additional player options, but those things aren't really the real reason to run an Acq Inc. style of game, in my opinion. Because seriously, you can pick up any splat book and get more player options. But there aren't nearly as many books that help dungeon masters like this one does. So let's get down to brass tacks. Why am I excited as crap to start running Acq Inc. games for all of my groups? Yes, that's right. I'm pretty sure I'm going to transition at least 3 of my 4 groups to Acq Inc. games. First, it simultaneously allows me to give my players more quest or adventure options while also restricting them. Let me explain. One of the classic problems that dungeon masters have had since the beginning of time is players ignoring their plot hooks and wandering off into La La Land on only God knows what stupid shenanigans sidetrack. With an Acq Inc. game, you can have the Mayordomo or another home office representative, I have one called the franchise representative that I use, act as a quest giver for your players. Now, why would this work any better than a typical NPC quest giver? Because the premise of the game is that the players are part of a franchise that, in order to advance, must advance Acq Inc. home office priorities. So, the game style channels them into following your hooks in order to advance their franchise and their characters' franchise abilities and magic items. However, I am not advocating for a railroad or a complete lack of freedom. In fact, this is how I'm doing it. I create at least 3 different quests or adventures that my players could do, and then allow them to choose which one they want to do. Then, after they do that one, they come back to the franchise representative who offers them the 2 they didn't pick, plus an additional one. So there are always 3 quests available to pick from. Now, I make these quests or adventures kind of short, things that can be done in 1 or 2 game sessions. This is important to prevent me from having to prepare way too much content in advance. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to sustain this. Then, if there are quests they don't pick, I can either level them up and keep them on the plate of offerings or let them drop off. And if they drop off, what's actually happening is that I'm reskinning them, making them seem different, but keeping the same content. This is basically a second attempt at hooking my players, since the first hook kind of got turned down. Finally, every so often, there can be a quest that home office requires them to do. These can be the elaborate or involved adventures that you really put a lot of work into creating. Now, the mechanic I'm currently planning on implementing is that at level 1, completing 1 quest gains you level 2, and then at level 2, likewise, doing 1 quest gets you to level 3. Then at that point, the players will need to complete 3 quests to advance a level. 2 quests will probably be short and less involved, but 1 will be a required quest that is a little bit longer and more complicated. We'll see how this goes, and I may need to tweak this a little bit based on how it goes at the table during actual gameplay. Okay, let's talk villain options. Wow, I have so many cool ideas for quests, adventures, and villains based on an Acq Inc. style of game. Imagine a rival adventuring company in a nearby region who are also trying to build up an Acq Inc. franchise. That is, your players have competition. Sometimes they go on a quest to find the dungeon has already been cleared out by their rivals, or they could even run into them in dungeons and have a showdown of sorts. The rival party could be doing missions that help the big bad evil guy, and your players must stop them. Shoot, some of the missions that your players get could actually be helping an unknown villain. And then, later in the campaign, it's revealed they've been helping the bad guy the whole time. That'll be sure to tick them off. Or you could simply have some of your missions have to do with the bad guy as you slowly reveal the central tension of the campaign. Then, as the group levels up, more and more of their quests have to do with stopping the bad guy. Or there is no main villain. There could just be lots of different villains, or there could be no central continuity at all to the campaign. It could just be lots of random missions that are cool on their own. Here's an idea too. As your player's franchise grows, they could contract out the little missions to low-level adventuring parties that they keep on retainer. Now, strictly speaking, you don't need the Acq Inc. book to run a game like this. That's why several times I reference it as a style of play. You could really just do this without the book, though the book does give a lot of detail and life to that style of play. But if you do want to pick up the book, I've conveniently placed a link down below. Oh, and it is an affiliate link too, so if you want to help support the channel, you can just click it, and it helps me even if you don't buy the book. Let me know your thoughts on this style of play in the comments. Next week, we'll be talking about tips and tricks for dungeon masters running large dungeons. But until then, click here if you'd like to binge on some videos explaining how to create D&D adventures. And until next time, let's play D&D.